Okay, let's go ahead and review this quiz. So the first thing that I need you to understand about this review session is that I want you to watch the entire video before you start working on your answers, because you need to understand why each answer is correct before you explain the reason that you got your answers wrong. Remember that your explanations can give you a point back, or give you, half a point back, so that you can earn some credit back toward increasing your score. On a separate sheet of paper, I want you to write down the numbers that you missed with a short explanation as to why you selected the answer that you did. It can be from 1 to 3 sentences, and if you put something like, I just selected that answer, I'm not going to give you points back. Okay, so you need to make sure that you are explaining to me the logic behind the answer that I gave you. Okay, or that you gave me. So the first one, what is the definition of a phrase? You have 4 options here, and the correct one was D. Okay, a group of words that relate in a sentence. Now, a lot of times I see that people are putting that it is the most important word in the sentence. That is not correct. Okay, a phrase is a group of words, so it cannot be a single word. Another big one, probably bigger than B actually, is C, a common saying in English. A phrase is actually a common saying in English, but for terms of our study, we don't use the word phrase in that sense. Okay, we use the word phrase in the sense of a group of words that relate to one another in a sentence. For example, the fat cat. Okay. What is the best definition of a head word? The best definition of a head word is the most important word in a phrase. A lot of people want to put the most important word in a sentence. Okay. It is not the most important word in a sentence. That was a really lame arrow. It is not the most important word in a sentence. It is the most important word in a phrase, because sentences are made up of phrases. So if you have a head word in a phrase, then it's not necessarily going to be the most important word in the sentence. Okay? So I need you to understand that distinction. And then these two were just a wash. You should have been able to get rid of them. They were just distractors. So, what is not likely to be found in a noun phrase? Adjectives, articles, pronouns, and verbs. Okay, the answer is verbs. You will not find verbs in a noun phrase unless they're in the gerund form, but that's advanced, and we're not going to talk about that till later. Okay, so in the phrase Dan's new car, Dan's is best described as an adjective. Okay, a lot of people want to put noun here, and that makes subject a viable answer as well. But the correct answer is adjective, okay? Because you ask yourself the question, whose car? Dan's car, right? If you say Dan's is the subject of the sentence, then you have to say Dan's what? Dan's car. Doesn't make sense, okay? So, let's move on to number 5. You're supposed to identify the noun phrases in the following sentences. The students rested after their long trip, okay? Now, right off the bat, you'll see that letter A here has 2 options, the students and their long trip. So the first thing I need to do is go, wait a second, this answer is different from all the rest. Let me check it out. Let me look into it. And lo and behold, students is a noun, trip is a noun. Okay, both of these hold up as noun phrases. So, to me, I could go on and look, but you can see that I've actually got this next one broken out, but there's a preposition in it. This one could be correct, but it's not the best answer, right? I want to find the best answer. And then finally, rested, that's a verb, okay? So the correct answer is A. It is the one with multiple noun phrases in it. 6, our new neighbors across the hall became our best friends. Well, let's try this as a strategy. I want you guys to attempt this on your noun phrase identifying questions from now on. So I know that our new neighbors is a noun, across the hall is a noun, and friends is a noun, right? So if I look down here, I can see that the only answer that encapsulates all 3 of those is letter D. It's easy peasy. All right, moving forward. Mickey's roommate studies in the library every evening. Let me see if I can pick out my nouns here. Mickey's might be a noun, but no, because Whose roommate? Mickey's roommate. So roommate is the actual noun, right? Studies is a verb. Library is a noun. And then evening is also a noun, right? This evening or every evening. Those are nouns. And we don't actually have evening up there. So you can see that I am actually busted here. That is the correct answer, okay? I think the reason why I didn't include evening, and this is probably just going to confuse you, but every evening actually modifies studies. So it's actually what you would consider an adverbial phrase. But we'll get into that later. That's more complex stuff. But I just wanted you to understand that's why I didn't put that in there. A huge crowd lined the street for the big parade. A huge crowd lined the street for the big parade. So I know that a crowd is a noun. I know that a street is a noun. Now line could be a noun, but this is the past tense, so it's actually a verb in this. And parade. So I want to look for an answer that has all three of those. Oh, that's letter C. Okay? Bingo. This new lasagna recipe feeds an enormous crowd. Go through, find my nouns. Lasagna recipe and crowd, right? Now, in this sense, lasagna actually isn't a noun. Now that I look at it a second time, lasagna modifies recipe, right? What kind of recipe? A lasagna recipe, okay? So we're looking for the noun phrase. We know that we have recipe and crowd. So I can say, okay, I see what I was doing here. This one is actually tricky, okay? Because you have these two options here that make sense, B and C. New lasagna recipe, an enormous crowd, or this new lasagna recipe, an enormous crowd. The correct answer is C, okay? Because you have to include this because it modifies recipe, right? Which new lasagna recipe? This new lasagna recipe, okay? So that's why that is the correct answer. You need to make sure that you have that down. Let's move on to the next page. Actually, you know what? Give me a second. I'm going to make a break in the video here. I feel like I could have made that transition a little more awkward. Okay, moving on. 10, Beyonce's new CD is fantastic. Now, we went over this one in class. There's really no reason that we should have this one wrong. But a lot of people like to confuse Beyonce with the subject, and that's not the case. Again, when you see that possessive apostrophe right there, that means that it's automatically an adjective, okay? Whose CD? Beyonce's CD, right? So the correct simple subject is CD. Now, if we were looking for just the subject, the correct answer would in fact be C, okay? After feuding for 3 years, the sisters forgave each other. So I'm looking for the simple subject, which I have to ask myself, what is this sentence all about? And to me, the most important word in this sentence is probably sisters. So if I go down here, I'll see that letter C is in fact the answer. In the long run, is health more important than wealth? Most important word in this sentence is health, okay? So I answer health. In the long run, is health more important than wealth? If I had to ask you what this sentence was all about, I'd say, is health more important than wealth? And because it comes first, that is the most important word, okay? Now, number 13 we talked about. This one's tricky. It says, call someone who cares, and it asks you for the simple subject. Well, if I were to say, hey, call someone who cares, I would be talking to you, okay? That's the correct answer, and I need you guys to know this. We called this an implied subject. If you didn't know that already, you know it now, and I'm very happy for you in your new knowledge. Okay. Identify the simple predicate in the following sentences. Very easy, guys. Simple predicate equals verb. Charles and Catherine did what? They climbed. Okay? Bingo. That movie was a real ripoff. That movie what? That movie was. moving forward. After driving 500 miles in one day, Nellie found a motel room. Now, this one's a little bit more confusing. After what? Driving? No, that's not what we want to do. Remember that the rule is when there's that clause in the front of a sentence, we're not going to let that be part of our main sentence, okay? And we'll get into that structure later once we start studying actual syntax structure. But the basic idea behind this sentence is this. Nellie found a motel room. Nellie did what? Nellie found, okay? Answer. Before the show, some actors kissed the aging stagehand for good luck. Before the show, some actors kissed the aging stagehand for good luck. So what we're going to do here is we are going to find our verb. Before the show, some actors kissed, okay? So that's my simple predicate. Very simple stuff here, guys. At the bottom of the ninth inning, the score, what? Remained 5-5. Answer. And then finally, another word for the simple subject is a head word, okay? Just like another word for the simple simple predicate is a head word, okay? That's what we're looking for. Anytime you have a simple subject or a simple predicate, it is the head word in the noun phrase or the head word in the verb phrase, okay? That's the way that works. So your job at this point is to take this information and explain to me how you got the answer that you did. And if you give me a valid answer, and I'm not talking about saying something like, you didn't teach me this, or I didn't know what I was doing, or something like that, that's not a thoughtful answer that's going to get you to learn. I want you to tell me why in that moment you picked the answer that you did, okay? Because that's going to inform me about what I need to teach to you. So you've got the rest of class to work on this. I encourage you to capitalize on this opportunity.